This week we revisit an in-progress project, specifically these areas where we had patched the fiberglass. Phillip had added a few more layers of fairing to this specific spot so we could reinstall the new electronics, and it was time to move on to the next step.
Alright, so I have a few different spots that it's gonna be hard to see, patched. One's here, there was an old fuel fill right here, so I patched that. And then here I have an old instrument panel. And so these repairs have been out in the sun for a little bit, so I don't want them to get too much UV damage. And I've got one on the head, above the head. So I just need to put some paint on them, so I've got some primer. This is the only spot that I've faired, as the rest is going to get non-skid or other boat work done to it in the future. I just need to protect the repair job I've done in the meantime. So I'm going to wipe them all down with acetone, and then they'll make sure everything's clean and ready for paint. And then I'll work on mixing up the paint. Yeah, it's just a total boat epoxy primer that I'm going to be putting on.
After Phillip painted the primer on, he had to give it ample time to dry so he would be able to sand without gumming up the sandpaper. Once it was no longer tacky, he moved on to another partially completed project.
On this side, I just replaced the traveler line. So this is our old traveler line. It's blue. Yeah, it's just getting a little bit worn. So we're just slowly upgrading stuff. When we decided to go with black because it'll just show less dirt as we climb over top of it every day. Also, Heather thinks it goes with the aesthetics more. Actually just make them just a little bit longer. So we don't have any lighters on the boat. Alright, so the last piece of electronics that we got to install on the boat right now is so this is a Triton 2 display from B&G. So it's going to get installed right here, which is our next to our companionway. Also the helm's right here, so it makes it easy. And it's we've got our chart plotter on this side, so then we'll be able to have a chart plotter and then have all of the sailing instrument displays on this side. So I just marked it out so that the upper edge of each of them is at the same height and parallel. So now I just need to cut the opening out, drill 4 holes, and screw it in, as the wire's already run. So it's should be a pretty quick and easy install.
Now I did have to talk Phillip down from cutting this out at 9 a.m. on a Sunday, hence the new traveler lines being installed mid-project. A surefire way to not be friends with anyone at the marina is to interrupt a relaxing Sunday morning coffee. I also did not want my Sunday morning coffee to sound like this. And Phillip graciously waited until approximately noon before deciding to cut it out.
Pretty good replacement core, nice and thick. Alright, so this is going to be our second reef line for the clue of the sail. There we go. I had to think about that. So our first one's green, this one will be blue, and then when we get around to adding a third one, it'll be red. And so we're going to actually splice a pendant of Dyneema into the core of this one. So we'll join these two together, and then they'll allow a slipperier line to go through the low friction ring, and just hopefully allow it to be an easier process to reef, less friction. So also the Dyneema has very low stretch, and so we'll size it so it's about the full length of the run back to the winch, and then the case will take all the casing on this rope will take all the abrasion.
The lines on Bombadil are not bad yet, but I think I'd use the word tired to describe them. The covers are starting to get fuzzy and the color is beginning to fade. They've gotten a bit stiff and dirty. We could probably just wash them and go on using them for a while, but replacing them gives us a peace of mind. Now we know exactly where they came from, exactly what they are, and what types of loads have been applied. While we are starting to slowly change them out, Phillip is using it as an opportunity to expand his knowledge and skill set to understanding the different materials and how you can achieve high-tech sheets and halyards without paying an exorbitant amount of money. Learning to splice a nice chunk of Dyneema into a generic line will allow us to have the least amount of stretch for the least amount of money.
We are creating a Dyneema loop. So once it's all done, it will look kind of like this. And this is for our reefing lines. But I gotta create a few Dyneema loops. So it'll just be a simple, each end will pass into essentially become a core of the other one. And the splices will hold, and then I'll just lock stitch where they are spliced into each other, and that will just keep it from backing out, because under tension it's kind of like a Chinese finger trap, like a little kid toy you play with, and it'll hold the line, but when it loosens up then they can slide out. So and so I did mark the length of each berry. I just want to make sure they pull them all so they're tight. And then I actually marked these a little long so I'd have something, so in case they spread out, I won't lose the end. So. I'll just taper in the core. You either want a sharp knife or good scissors because it doesn't cut the nicest. But. I'm trying to get this knot to bury a little bit in the tail, so pull it through. And just a simple lock stitch through the core. Alright, so currently on our sail we have reefing crinkles that for our reef points that they pass through, and the rope comes up and through here. There's a bit of friction, and so we're going to try low friction rings. And so I made a simple loop, and this then passes through, and then the low friction ring gets like a stitch whipping to hold it. So yeah, I'm going to work on that for every single reef point, and hopefully that reduces the effort it takes to reef. Also, this would be way easier if I had done this like before the sail is in a stack pack, or if I took the sail out of a stack pack.
A few more projects crossed off the list, and it was time to go sailing again. Spring in Michigan means that one day you're in a sports bra and leggings chasing biting flies around with a swatter, and within the next week you're bundled in a down vest, windproof coats, and wearing a warm hat. It did certainly feel good to get out on a day that had a little bit more wind.